Jung's core concepts relevant to male desire. To understand what Jung might say about male desire, we need to look at his key psychological concepts, archetypes and the collective unconscious. Jung believed that the human psyche is shaped by universal patterns or archetypes stored in the collective unconscious. These archetypes influence our desires, behaviors, and motivations. For men, archetypes like the hero, the lover, the warrior, or the trickster could shape expressions of desire, whether romantic, sexual, or existential. The anima, animus. The anima is the feminine aspect of a man's psyche, while the animus is the masculine aspect of a woman's psyche. For men, the anima represents their unconscious connection to femininity, emotions, intuition, and relationality. Male desire, in Jung's view, is often a projection of the anima onto external figures, for example, a partner, lover, or idealized image of a woman. This projection can lead to intense longing but also confusion, as men may chase an idealized inner image rather than a real person. The shadow represents the repressed, hidden, or socially unacceptable parts of the psyche. Male desire might include elements of the shadow, impulses, fantasies, or drives that society deems taboo or that the individual feels ashamed of. Confronting the shadow requires acknowledging these darker aspects, which can be painful or unsettling. Individuation. Jung's concept of individuation is the process of integrating all parts of the psyche, conscious and unconscious, to become a whole, authentic self. Male desire, when unintegrated, can be fragmented, driven by unconscious archetypes or societal conditioning rather than authentic self-awareness. The journey to integrate desire can be painful because it requires facing uncomfortable truths. What is male desire in a Jungian context? Male desire, in this context, refers to the complex interplay of biological, psychological, and cultural forces that drive men's motivations. These could include sexual desire, the instinctual drive for intimacy, reproduction, or pleasure, often shaped by biology but filtered through psychological lenses like the anima. Romantic desire, the longing for connection, love, or an idealized partner, often tied to anima projections. Existential desire, the deeper yearning for meaning, purpose, or transcendence, which Jung saw as central to the human experience, power or achievement. For some men, desire manifests as ambition, dominance, or the need to prove oneself, often tied to archetypes like the king or warrior. Jung's perspective suggests that male desire is not just a surface-level impulse but a window into the deeper psyche, shaped by archetypes and unconscious forces. However, these desires are often distorted by societal expectations, repression, or denial of the shadow. The message Jung might have left. If Jung were to leave a message about male desire, it would likely center on the need to understand and integrate its unconscious roots. Here's a detailed reconstruction of what this message might entail. Desire is often a projection of the anima. Jung argued that men often project their anima, their inner feminine ideal, onto women or relationships. This projection can make male desire feel overwhelming or unattainable because it's not rooted in reality but in an unconscious archetype. For example, a man might idealize a partner as a goddess-like figure, only to feel disillusioned when she doesn't match the fantasy. The painful truth here is that much of male desire is not about the external object, for example a person, but about an internal, unconscious image. Recognizing this requires men to withdraw projections and look inward, which can be disorienting or humbling. The shadow hides repressed desires. Male desire often includes elements that society or the individual deems unacceptable: aggression, lust, vulnerability, or unconventional attractions. These are relegated to the shadow, where they fester unconsciously. Jung's message would likely urge men to confront their shadow, acknowledging these desires without judgment. This process is painful because it involves facing shame, guilt, or fear of being unmanly or morally flawed. For example, a man might repress his longing for emotional intimacy, fearing it conflicts with cultural ideals of stoicism, only to have it manifest in unhealthy ways. For example, obsession or anger. Societal conditioning distorts desire. Jung recognized that cultural norms shape the psyche. Modern society often reduces male desire to simplistic stereotypes: hypersexual, dominant, or achievement-driven. Jung's message might critique this, suggesting that men are alienated from their authentic desires by rigid gender roles. For instance, a man might suppress his anima-driven need for emotional connection to conform to a tough guy archetype. The pain comes from realizing how much of one's desire has been shaped by external forces rather than inner truth. Individuation requires facing desire. To become whole, men must integrate their desires, including those tied to the anima and shadow. This means exploring questions like, what do I truly want? Why do I want it? How do my desires reflect my unconscious? This process is painful because it demands vulnerability, self-reflection, and the courage to challenge societal norms or personal defenses. For example, a man might realize his relentless pursuit of success masks a deeper desire for love or meaning, requiring him to rethink his priorities. Why is the message too painful to hear? The pain associated with Jung's insights into male desire stems from several factors. Confronting the unconscious. Jung's psychology requires diving into the unconscious, which can feel like opening a Pandora's box of repressed emotions, fears, or desires. For men, this might mean acknowledging vulnerabilities or impulses they've been taught to suppress, challenging cultural norms. Modern culture often glorifies a narrow view of masculinity: stoic, dominant, or sexually aggressive. Jung's message might force men to question these norms, which can feel like a betrayal of identity or social acceptance. Loss of illusions. Realizing that much of male desire is a projection of the anima or a product of conditioning can be disillusioning. It strips away romanticized notions of love or ambition, forcing men to confront their inner emptiness or unfulfilled needs. Responsibility for integration. Jung's call to individuation places the burden on the individual to do the hard work of self-discovery. This can feel overwhelming, especially when societal messages encourage men to avoid emotional introspection. Fear of vulnerability. For many men, desire is tied to vulnerability, whether it's the need for love, fear of rejection, or shame about certain impulses. Jung's approach demands embracing this vulnerability, which can feel excruciating in a culture that equates masculinity with strength. Practical implications of Jung's message. If we take Jung's insights seriously, what can men, or those seeking to understand male desire, do? Here are some practical takeaways. Self-reflection. Men can journal, meditate, or engage in therapy to explore their desires. Questions like what do I want, and why? Or what fantasies or impulses do I avoid thinking about? Can uncover unconscious drivers. Engage with the anima. Men can explore their anima by examining their relationships or attractions. Are they chasing an idealized image? What does this reveal about their inner world? Confront the shadow. Acknowledge repressed desires without judgment. This might involve exploring taboo feelings, seeking therapy, or engaging in creative outlets like art or writing to express the shadow safely. Challenge cultural narratives. Men can question societal messages about masculinity, for example, that they must always be strong, dominant, or sexually voracious. Seeking communities or mentors that encourage authenticity can help. Pursue individuation. Commit to the lifelong process of integrating the psyche. This might involve spiritual practices, psychological work, or exploring passions that align with one's true self. Why this matters in 2025. In the context of 2025, Jung's message about male desire remains relevant, perhaps even more so. Social dynamics around gender are shifting, with traditional masculinity under scrutiny and new expectations for emotional intelligence and authenticity emerging. Men may feel caught between old stereotypes, for example, the stoic provider, and modern demands, for example, emotional vulnerability. Jung's framework offers a way to navigate this tension by encouraging men to look inward rather than conform to external pressures. However, this inward journey can be painful in a world that often rewards superficiality or avoidance. Additionally, the rise of digital culture, social media, dating apps, and pornography amplifies anima projections and shadow repression. Men may chase idealized images online or suppress desires that don't fit curated personas, making Jung's call for self-awareness both urgent and challenging. Conclusion. The message Carl Jung might have left about male desire is that it's a complex, multifaceted force rooted in the unconscious, shaped by archetypes like the anima and shadow, and often distorted by societal conditioning. To truly understand and integrate male desire, men must embark on a painful but transformative journey of self-discovery, confronting projections, repressed impulses, and cultural myths. This process is too painful to hear because it demands vulnerability, honesty, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. Yet, by heeding Jung's insights, men can move toward a more authentic, integrated relationship with their desires, leading to greater fulfillment and self-understanding.